Rainjitananda is my name. Acharya means teacher. Avaduta means monk. I've been teaching for more than 25 years. And it's a very long name, so you can just call me Dada. The webinar today will be in two parts. The first is the presentation, and the second is the questions. 4 questions. Type them on the webinar control panel. You will see a place where you can type the questions. You can go on typing during the webinar, but I will reply by the end of the webinar. If you want to communicate with me, you can use the questions, but I don't look at them all the time, so I mostly look at the end of the presentation. So the title today is Karma, Life, Death, and Rebirth. So what is life? And life is a period, let's say 100 years. Some people say I exaggerate, so it could be 75 years. If it's 100 years, then we have 36,500 days, or 876,000 hours. Now, what to do in this period? What we have to reach? What is the goal? Well, many people say many things, but when we ask anyone or most of the people what they are really searching in life, many people say they want to be happy. They want happiness. And that is the same for people in one country, another country, any race, any social status. People want to be happy. And the next question, how long one wants to be happy for? And people will say they want to be always happy. That means something infinite. What human beings are really looking for is something infinite, a feeling that fulfills. Now let's see about death. What happens after death? What happens before? What happens when we die? These are all very valid questions. The topic today is related to karma. And there is a law in the physical world, which is the law of action and reaction. To every action, there is an equal reaction. But this law is also valid in the mental world. So some mental action, also mental reaction. Action and reactions happen in the mind. So if the mind is in its original state, a balance, a state of balance, when there is an action, it's like a distortion of the mind, and that is the action. Now the mind wants to go back to its original state. So that is the reaction. When the mind goes back to its original state. So there is always action, reaction. During this action and reaction, do we get pain or do we get pleasure? It all depends on the action. If it's good action, good reaction. Bad action, bad reaction. Is the reaction equals to the action? That's another question. Well, it depends on 3 factors: time, place, and person. So if none of these factors change, the reaction will be equal to the action. But if there is a change in time, there is a change in place, it will be different. I'll introduce another concept, the concept of samskara. You see the first point, E to G, there is a straight line representing the mind in its original state of balance. When the action happened, E to F, there is a distortion. The line from F to G is the reaction, but the reaction has not yet happened. So it's in potential form. So that is the samskara, the reaction in potential form. It is there, ready to happen, but it's not happening. It's waiting for proper place, proper time. So that is the concept of samskara, reaction in potential form. How do samskaras work? Imagine this guy, John. John, according to his potential reactions, means his samskaras, he will have to experience the mental pain or pleasure of breaking an arm at the age of 8, getting a lot of money at the age of 10, becoming fatherless at the age of 11. So he, at the age 8, 10, and 11, he has to experience the pain or pleasure, which is equivalent in mental measure to those situations. So his samskaras are there, ready to exhaust. And what he has to experience? He has to experience an equivalent pain or pleasure. After experience that, his mind will go back to original state. He will be free from those potential reactions, from those samskaras. Now, the form of suffering can be different. Here I'm telling that the mental measure of pain and pleasure will be equivalent to breaking the arm. It doesn't mean he will break the arm, but it means he has to experience mental pain equivalent to that. You know, the way the samskara expresses is related to the amount of pain and pleasure, and it's not predetermined. It changes according to time and place. So the amount of pain or pleasure, that's what one will experience. So what is the actual reaction for a particular action changes. It's not said that if I steal $100, then I will have $100 stolen from me. It's not like that. Suppose in the old days, people used to fight with spears and swords. So maybe somebody killed somebody with a sword. Now that person is living today, has to exhaust that samskara, the pain that that person caused. There are no swords here. It doesn't mean somebody will kill him with a sword. It means something will happen to him which is of an equivalent, similar pain as he caused. Now, as I mentioned before, if time and place change, the samskara changes. So it may increase. You may have to pay with interest. So. Therefore, samskaras are the mental measurement of pain or pleasure that remains accumulated in the mind, and that has to be exhausted. And one has to experience the result of every action. Now, next question is, what will happen to somebody who dies and did not exhaust all samskaras? Means one has still samskaras to exhaust and one dies. So the diagram there, death arrived. Did the person exhaust all samskaras? If yes, then the mind is liberated. And one attains this state of moksha. The mind merges into the infinite consciousness. There are no more limitations. But if it is no, then how to exhaust the samskaras that remain? One needs a new body. Therefore, one takes rebirth. To exhaust samskaras, we need a physical body. Without the physical body, we cannot exhaust samskaras. So that's why if the samskaras didn't finish, then we need a new body to continue exhausting them. So we get life. And what is life? Life is a parallelism between mind and body. The mind has a wavelength, the body has a wavelength. When there is that parallelism, mind remains connected to the body. If mind remains connected to the body, then there is life. And what about death? Well, there are three types of death: physical, psychic, spiritual. When the cause is physical, it means that the body suffers a shock or a damage and cannot maintain the parallelism with the mind. The body gets disturbed. Now, what is a psychic? It might happen sometimes that the mind gets such a blow that it loses its balance, it loses its harmony, and the mind cannot keep the parallelism with the physical body. In that case, mind separates from the body. So there is a psychic cause of death. And what is a spiritual cause of death? When the mind finishes all its samskaras. So it removes all its barriers, all those little boxes that were limiting it. So it becomes limitless, infinite. It merges into the cosmic. So the individual consciousness merges into the cosmic consciousness because there is no samskara to separate it. And that's the spiritual cause of death. Okay. Let's analyze the human structure. To understand it, we'll compare it to a chariot. The chariot has the horses, the charioteer, the passenger. Now, the horses are the motor and sensory organs. We see something, we like it, we want it, we do something to get it. That's how the sensory and motor organs work. If we let the mind be pulled by the horses in the direction that the horses want to go, I see something beautiful, I buy it. I didn't really think about buying. I don't really need it, but my sensory organ, vision, likes it. So I go, I buy it. So that's the way the organs are pulling the mind. These are the horses. But we need to control it. Who will control the charioteer, the one who is guiding the chariot? So the charioteer is conscience, that capacity to know what is right, what's wrong. So conscience is using the mind, which is the rein, to control the horses, which are the sensory organs. And the whole chariot is carrying the passenger. The passenger is the soul. The chariot exists to carry the passenger. If there was no passenger, there was no need for the chariot. It's when the passenger is there that the chariot gets its meaning, that it must move to carry that passenger. So that's the human structure. We have the soul, we have the mind, we have the conscience, we have the organs, the body. And what is that? In the body, the vital energy goes into a state of disequilibrium, loses the balance, so it leaves the body. The airs or vital energy leaves the body stops functioning. Then the mind does not die, the body dies, but the mind goes into a state of long sleep. It doesn't perish. So now, body and mind separated. The body will decompose, but the mind will remain in that state of long sleep. The external layers of the mind, the conscious, the subconscious, and the most external layers of the unconscious or superconscious, they will stop functioning. Only the causal mind remains associated with the samskaras. So the samskaras remain associated with the mind, and the soul witnesses that mind. So the soul, the mind, the samskaras, only the higher layers of mind, the causal mind, remain. And that, let's say, individual or that bodiless mind remains in this state of long sleep. After that, that mind will be reborn. That inactive mind will look for a body. What kind of body? A body that is suitable for that mind to exhaust its samskaras. And what guides the mind to find a new body? It's the cosmic mind. It will find a body for that mind according to the samskaras of that mind. So that in the end, we'll get a body in a certain place, in a certain family, in a certain way, that is suitable to our samskaras. It will be the best environment to exhaust our samskaras. And that process is guided by the cosmic mind. So one gets a new body, a new opportunity to exhaust its samskaras, to be free from all samskaras, to attain liberation, to attain infinite happiness, bliss. A few questions and answers. How long will that period that the mind remains in long sleep last? There is no fixed time. It can be very short, or it can be thousands of years. So it's not said that it will be this number of years. It all depends on the time, place that a suitable body will be available. And you know, human body is rare. There are so many beings in this planet, millions and millions, and there are a limited number of human bodies existing. So one should always make the best use of the present body before thinking about getting a new one. Another question, can one remember past lives? And why one cannot remember? Well, it's the nature makes us forget. Because if we remember the previous life, it will be like two personalities in one body. This life and past life. Means this life we are born in one family, son of one person. Last life we are born in another body, son of another person. So it will be a big confusion. So it is the blessing of nature that we forget. So what remains is the samskaras. But the samskaras that remain, it means the mental pain or pleasure that we experienced by doing so many actions in previous life. So that remains as a reaction in potential form. So another question, does one feel pain at the time of death? The time the body and mind loses parallelism and separate, that separation of the mind from the body is neither painful nor it gives pleasure. I mean, one may feel pain because, let's say, one is shot. So in that, but the moment the body is separating, there is no pain, and after that there will be no pain. Another question, what is heaven and what is hell? Are we going to heaven? Are we going to hell? According to yoga, the moment the mind separates from the body, the mind is not anymore experiencing pain or pleasure. It is in a state of long sleep, awaiting to get a new body. So whatever heaven we experience, it's in our life. Whatever hell we experience, it's in our life. And heaven maybe will be the experiencing the pleasure of the reactions that we did. And hell will be experiencing the pain of the actions that we did. So heaven and hell are here today. And not after the body separates from the mind. That mind will remain in a state, it will look for a new body. It will not be experiencing neither pleasure nor pain. More questions. Why some babies are more developed from birth? That's because of inborn samskaras. Maybe one did a lot of music in the previous life. So in the new life, it will be much easier for that individual to learn music, to express music. It will be familiar. So in the same way, if one has lived many human lives, or if one is in the first human life, there will be difference in the inborn samskaras. So there will be difference in that personality. Some people think that all babies are the same and they are all pure, and it is with education that we create things in their minds, and the parents or the teachers. But in fact, it's not that everybody is born pure completely. Everybody is born with their inborn samskaras, and they are here to express them. So the law of nature is that it is the human beings who are answerable for their fate. It is our actions that create it. So sometimes we say, oh, God is so cruel, is punishing me and creating so many problems. But that is, in fact, the reaction from past actions. So it is the human being that will have to bear the consequences of his or her actions. So what we did, now we are harvesting. So that is the natural law. So nobody will take our place to suffer for us. You know, there was one thief, and he was stealing and killing people, and he used to justify that he is doing that to maintain his family, his wife, his son, his father. One day, he went to steal from a saint. The saint asked him, why do you steal? And he said, oh, I need to maintain my father, my mother, my wife, my child. The saint asked him, are they going to share the consequences of your actions? Then he was in doubt. Then he went home and asked his wife, would you share the consequences of my actions? I'm stealing to maintain you. She said, no. So nobody can share. So we have to decide our actions and not to justify that we are doing it for a certain reason. So we will have to experience all the good reactions from our good deeds and all the bad reaction from our bad deeds. So that's the law of nature, and nobody can change it. If it is like that, then we may lose hope. We may feel, oh, there is no solution, because we are always doing action, we are always getting the reaction, and our life is always going like action and reaction, and there is no way to come out. But there is a way, and many sages and intelligent people in the past researched how to escape this cycle of action and reaction, life and death. So the effort to free the mind from all the reactions and clear it is the meditation. And meditation is a practice. It is a spiritual practice. How we will free the mind from the limitations of the action and reaction, and how we'll bring the mind to a level of the infinite, of the limitless, of infinite bliss. The first action or the first effect of meditation is to accelerate the expression of reactions. It also makes the mind stronger, because you know, if you are accelerating your reactions, it means they are going quicker. If they are going quicker, it's more difficult. If it's more difficult, then you need a stronger mind. So meditation gives you mental strength. The technique of meditation that helps to exhaust the samskaras and to make the mind stronger is called Ishvara Pranidhana. That's a type of practice that helps you to withdraw the mind from the external world, withdraw the mind from your own body, and concentrate the mind, and then make the mind move towards the infinite consciousness, expands the mind. So that's the Ishvara Pranidhana, one technique of meditation. So the point one, you are accelerating the expression of the reactions, the samskaras. Samskaras are being exhausted. So that's number one. And what's number two? Number two, we have to avoid new reactions. How to avoid new reactions? Because you see, if we are doing number one, means we're accelerating the expression of the old samskaras, but we are still doing new actions. So new actions will get new reactions. So we accelerate, but we get new ones, so we never get free. So we need number two. It's to avoid new reactions. How do you do that? It's through ideation. When you are doing an action, if you think that you are doing the action, it means I am doing the action. If I am doing, I am getting the reaction. So the way to get out from that is to ideate on the supreme consciousness. It's the think that everything is happening because of that supreme consciousness. Everything is supreme consciousness. Every object is supreme consciousness. So the action is also supreme consciousness, and whoever is doing the action is supreme consciousness. If I can infuse that type of ideation in my mind, then I will not get any reaction. And that type of practice is called brahmacharya. It is a special practice which helps to create the supreme ideation in the mind and to avoid new reactions. So these two types of practices can free our mind, take us to the goal. And what is that goal? Bliss or peace. Infinite, infinite, not limited. We are not interested in things that are limited. Human beings want more and more. So the unit being, us, the individual, is limited. But the cosmic is infinite. So how the unit can become infinite? By merging into the cosmic. The unit mind has to be expanded to become the cosmic without limitations. If we consider the unit as a drop of water, the cosmic as an infinite ocean, when that drop merges into the ocean, that is the state that we are looking for. That is the state of yoga. Yoga means union. What kind of union? Union of the drop with the ocean, of the unit consciousness with the cosmic consciousness. So that is the goal of yoga. And to attain that, we need to practice. Mind will not change without practice, the same as the body. If we want to become strong, we need to go to the gym, exercise, run, swim, do something. It will not happen automatically, not just because we think that we want to be strong. In the same way, meditation is a result of a practice. If I do it every day, then I get results. So these two techniques, the Ishvara Pranidhan and the Brahmacharya, they are part of a system that we talked in another webinar. Ishvara Pranidhan is part of the practice of niyama, and Brahmacharya is part of the practice of yama. So these two types of practices need to be done regularly, daily. Meditation, Ishvara Pranidhan, and Brahmacharya. In Ananda Marga, the system that I teach, Ishvara Pranidhan is the first lesson, and Brahmacharya is the second lesson. After one learns these two lessons, then one will have a complete system to exhaust the samskaras and to avoid accumulating new ones. Get out from this cycle. And that makes life much different. In this process, leading our life, exhausting the samskaras means we have to go through different sufferings or different pleasures. Now, if we can do that, making our life meaningful, it's much better. Suppose I use my life for the welfare of humanity. I may undergo suffering, but I will think I'm doing for a good cause, so I get motivation. And so this kind of inspiration helps to make life better. So service, do selfless service. That's also a good way to exhaust our samskaras and to make our life more meaningful. All right, so now I'm coming to the moment that I would like you to ask questions. You will see in your control panel there is a place for questions where you can type questions. So you can start typing your questions. I will answer in order as I get to those questions. And okay. Okay, the first question here is, can you get a new body in a form other than human? All right, so how one gets a new body? One gets a body that is good for that person to exhaust its samskaras, okay? Now, usually, the samskaras of the previous life get exhausted in the next life. Suppose in the previous life the person was living a life that was not much different from the life of an animal. You know, animals just eat, sleep, reproduce, means sex, and have fear. If my whole life is like the life of an animal, I will have accumulated samskaras in such a way that I may need the animal life to exhaust them. So one can, from human, one can go back into animal. But after that, after one lives the animal life, one can go back to human life. So nature will, or the cosmic mind, will again take that individual forward. So it's possible, and it all depends on the samskaras that one has to exhaust. Okay, there is one question here. The question is, what is the difference between jiva and soul? Okay, the word in Sanskrit is jiva, and the English word here, soul. Okay, jiva means means the unit. Jivatma means the individual soul. Okay, Atman means soul. Jiva means the individual soul. So the Jiva just means the unit, the individual. Jivatman, the individual soul, Jivatman. Okay, when I experience a samskara, is the original context also still available so that you know what caused it? Well, yeah, sometimes we want to know what is the cause of the samskaras, what happened in the previous life, but normally we forget it. If we are able to remember all our lives, that can happen, but it will only happen when we reach a state that will not disturb us anymore. Means if we are very elevated, realized, at that moment, seeing all our past lives will not disturb us anymore. But as long as we are in this life, to know the past life doesn't help us. And sometimes we may think, oh, maybe I was great in the past life. So I read a story the other day. The story is in a book that is like a biography of my guru, my teacher, Sri Anandamurti. So the story was that one of his disciples was thinking that maybe in my past life I was a very elevated soul, a saint. So one day my teacher called another person, very advanced meditator, and told him, touched him and say, see this person, what do you see? He said, oh, I see many years, long time ago, a saint is walking, going towards the river to take a bath. And so this person was thinking, oh, I'm that saint. And then he says, oh, he is going in the water, now he is taking a bath, and there is a fish nearby, and this fish is dying. And now he touched the fish, and the fish died in that moment. So the fish is actually that person, that disciple. Because he was touched by a saint, that's why he became a person in the next life, and not only a person, but a spiritualist. So now that person, if we remember that, it doesn't help us so much. So the idea here is we shouldn't think about our samskaras. We should just act the best way we can in this world using our conscience, and then we do spiritual practices. We practice Ishvara Pranidhan, we practice Brahmacharya, and we live regularly, living in the present, not thinking about, oh, this is my samskara, that's my samskara. That will not help. So the knowledge, the whole knowledge of this karma, life, death, rebirth, action, reaction, just helps us to understand the importance of practicing meditation, Ishvara Pranidhan, Brahmacharya. Now, we understand that importance, now we practice it. But it's not necessary that we continue thinking, oh, what was my samskara? What is my samskara? If I do this, what will be the reaction? That will make life impossible. So we live a natural way, deciding our actions according to our conscience, and practicing spiritual practice, Ishvara Pranidhana Brahmacharya. So the next question is, so it is not enough to decide not to be born again? Well, we'll not be born again if there are no more samskaras to exhaust. So when we reach that situation where we have exhausted all samskaras, means we are free, then we don't need to be born again. Still, many realized people, when they reach that stage, when they don't need to be born again, still they can decide to be born again. So one can decide to be born again, to do something great for other people, to help other people to attain liberation. So one can decide that. But if one has samskaras, one cannot decide, I will not be born again, because it is the cosmic mind who will take that inactive mind carrying all the samskaras to be reborn. So one does not have choice but to be reborn if we still have samskaras. And the next question is, how to learn from samskaras? Means, if I understood the question properly, means if something happens to me, how do I learn out of it? What lesson do I take from it? It helps us to develop our conscience. Means the experiences we get in life help us. But it helps us even more to take a spiritual outlook of life and to practice, to do spiritual practices. There are a series of practices that we can do. Even this Jama and Niyama, which I mentioned only 2 points here, Brahmacharya and Ishvara Pranidhana, there are other points also to practice. So when we suffer, we understand suffering. If we understand suffering, then we may not want to make other people suffer. So if we don't make other people suffer, we are making life better. And just the idea to make other people suffer creates certain vibrations in our mind which make our life more difficult, which makes it more difficult for us to attain liberation. So like if I think for the welfare of people all the time, whatever I'm projecting is the welfare of people. So if I think to cause harm to somebody, that creates certain vibrations in my mind, which are very limited vibration, very far from a cosmic ideation. So it means I'm getting more samskaras. So it helps us to the experiences that we get in our life to guide our future life. Okay, I'm reaching to the end of my time, and I think the questions that were given also have exhausted. Well, of course, to one webinar like this is useful, and I'm trying to give regular webinars. And also we have programs like retreats. So in the US, where I am now, we'll have a retreat in July from 1st to 7th, and that's in Missouri. And this retreat, we are going to concentrate on these two practices, Ishvara Pranidhana and Brahmacharya. So if anybody is around and has time. And I will end now. Thank you very much for the participation. And tomorrow I will give another webinar at the same time. So thank you. Namaskar.